So in natural first world problems, we adjusted the AirPod and stopped the video. So what you were supposed to see next is a continuation of this setup. So we got our O-ring on. It's slightly off-centered because I didn't realize the video stopped and I went to go pull it off, but I stopped just in time. So for the purpose of this video, it doesn't matter where the O-ring is. What matters is showing you the setup with the hook. So again, remember, this is our weedless hook. We got the wire here to protect the barb. When you want to go hook your worm, you're not hooking the worm specifically to the hook. You're hooking the ring through, or placing the hook through the ring. So what this is going to do, it's very simple. It's not like you need too much instruction. What this is going to do is going to help preserve the worm itself. So when the bass pull, they're pulling on the worm, right? If the worm was in the hook, then you have concerns with the shearing, the pulling of the worm might rip the worm in half. You might only get a couple bites out of it, as opposed to with the O-ring, it's not going to shear or shred that worm. So when they pull, it might slide a little bit, but nothing too crazy. Chances are when bass come after the worm, they're going to do 1 bite, 2 bites, and then you set your hook, you're good. So you really don't have to worry about the worm being pulled too much out of the O-ring. So when you have your setup like this, all you have to do next is just close your clasp. As I alluded to earlier, the clasp is supposed to make this weedless. You'll see with the movement here, the technique for using the Wacky rig, and I'm sure you can Google videos, but essentially you drop it in the weeds, drop it in the thick timber or anything like that, and you're going to slowly jerk it up. Jerk, reel in a little bit, let it ride, or let it drop, then you're going to jerk, reel in a little bit. And the reason why that motion is, the jerking motion is so efficient, because you can see how much activity just a slight movement does with the worm. There's one quick pull and you see it's still wiggling. It's going to do that in the water as well. Buoyancy isn't too much of an issue as far as the action of the bait. So just brief rundown as you're jigging up, watching the worm jiggle in the water. The bass are interested, then you let it go down. As you let it go down, there's still that movement, and when you stop, come back up to jig, it's moving a lot of good movement there. So as far as the weedless portion that I keep referencing but fail to continue to directly approach, with this clasp here, the idea is that the vegetation, the timber, won't get hooked onto the barb. As you can see, it is offset a little bit, so the barb is completely protected in theory. Now there are definitely times where the clasp comes undone, you get snagged or whatnot, but ideally the only snags, if you will, that you will come to find if you do grab some vegetation is going to be between the worm and the hook. So nothing too damaging to the worm or to the setup itself. As you can see, the hook does a really good job of sliding under here, doesn't get stuck, and the clamp keeps everything together. You might also get some vegetation or something stuck between the eyelet here and the wire, but that's nothing major. So in theory, you have a weedless setup, Wacky rig. Use this in vegetation, use it in timber, and you should be good to roll. Very simple, very easy setup, and you don't need weights on here. Again, because that natural motion as it comes down, or I'm sorry, as it comes up, the natural motion as it comes down, you want it to kind of slowly fall like a normal worm would. If you put a weight on there, it's just going to drop. And as dumb as fish are, they're pretty smart when it comes to what they typically eat and what they normally see as far as the presentation when they eat. But yeah, there's your part 2 of your Wacky video or Wacky rig series. Next video coming up.